The opinions made in this video do not necessarily coincide with that of Imaginary Goddess, or anyone else for that matter. Viewer discretion is advised.
Guys, this is Ben Wheeler, the Mercenary King, with another state of play. Here we're starting out pretty simple. Cover a couple things I accidentally missed when I covered Fire's Collection, and then answer a question on the YouTube comments in the previous one. I've already answered it in the comments, so if you just want to skip this part of my voice, I don't see why you would. Though, you can. So, let's talk about these two. This is just meh. If it weren't for the second ability, it would be terrible. This is actually a really good card. So this is Duo Delicious Girl Chow. Counterblast 1 at the beginning of your main phase. Fortunately, it's not Counterblast the Duo. A special Counterblast. Thank goodness not. You may pay the cost. If you do, choose one of your rear guards with Duo in the name, return to hand, and choose another one with the same name and return to hand. It gets plus 6k if you're able to do the full ability. When the unit is returned from your hand from rear guard, this unit gets plus 3k. So, sure, it's a free plus 6k. At the same time, there are a lot of duos that sort of bonus from it, but this thing assumes that you've got a pretty good field already on lockdown, and capable of keeping it going. There's some advantage to be had from it, but at the same time, there are simply a lot of better cards. If they had, say, put Rate as this card, and switch this into the Bermuda set, then there might have been a bit more parity here, but as it stands, there's a lot more better choices. And I feel that its limitation to Duo really doesn't allow us to think up plays with it, as we can with other cards. Then we got Blue Storm Marine General Demetrius. If you're running just a Blue Storm deck, he's fantastic. He is Counterblast 1. When an Aquaforce rides this unit, you may pay the cost. If you do, choose your Vanguard until end of turn. This unit gets a 10k, as usual for break rides. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, and auto, when this unit attacks a Vanguard, if this is the fourth battle of that turn or more, draw 2 cards and kill one of your opponent's rear guards, plus 2k when it attacks a Vanguard. This is fantastic. Transcore isn't what it used to be. Sure, the -3 cards from hand for a perfect shield and the discarded card so you can even guard against it is great. And it works with Revon, Genovius, and quite a few others, really. But, I'm sorry, the crit is only if they choose not to discard a card, excuse me. But this guy gives you card advantage, and it negates your opponent's field advantage, which is always useful, no matter what anyone says about it, even against golds. Mostly because of the 2 cards here. Fourth battle isn't that hard for Aquaforce, but it does limit what sort of aces you can combo with it. Blue Storm, Break Rides can be used anywhere, even if they have an archetype name. So Blue Storm does work in any Maelstrom deck except for a Glory-based Maelstrom deck because you want the cross ride, in my opinion. But he doesn't really work in Genovius. He could work in Revon, but you'd lose power. Because Revon is all about sort of columns, then powerful Vanguard attack. Maybe with a column to the side for later. But you have to sort of play it right. Maelstrom, let's see, what's the name of the other guy? Hydro Hurricane. Anything really that you can combo it up with. Tri-Stinger. But really there aren't as many choices as there could be for this guy. I look forward to seeing what I can do with him later on, but for now I'm still satisfied with my Reverse Maelstrom deck, and I'll probably bring him out later on, when I feel it's ready. The Legions are coming out, and I'm planning on comboing up Genovius and Zaharias for a sort of, and base the field around restanding the field later in the game. Once I reach certain attacks, once I have the Vanguard attack, Counterblast 1, and discarded Genovius, that sort of thing. And maybe he'd do better, a little bit better there, but I haven't really decided yet. He's a great card, a really good card with either reverse or normal Maelstrom. It's just that, maybe my playstyle isn't good for him quite yet. Alright, so those are the two I missed. Black-white, art combo. Really do enjoy Fire's collection. Each one is an ace you can base a deck around. Not sure you could run Break Ride on Break Ride Aquaforce, because it sort of doesn't seem like it could work as well as it should, but hey, give it a try. Transcores are declining in price, as I understand, and probably becomes more affordable for the poorer card fighter. Here we've got a question. Basically, it was two questions. Can you combo up Tyranno Legend and Volcatops Ancient Dragon decks without the Break Ride and with the Unlimiter? As well as Bunny Queen Beast Tamer, does she work with Cracking Beast Tamer? Cracking Whip Beast Tamer, who is a Legion. My answer is yes for the Bunny Queen Beast Tamer. Bunny Queen Beast Tamer's abilities, as I mentioned in the previous one, Counterblast 2, for every Beast Tamer in the Soul, I can call a separate rearguard. When this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, search your deck for a certain card and put it into your Soul Shuffle deck. So you're guaranteed at least one. Yeah, it's a good combo. There's flow for that one. You'll have to sort of make sure that your rear guards can all combo up well, and that you have things to punish your opponent once you start getting these combos together. Let's see here. I saw a fight in the Philippines, thanks to Chance Lulin, the Comeback King, that basically had Luquier, Venus Luquier, versus I can't remember who. The point is that there's a whole bunch of combos. Little bit of a BS when the guy accidentally a special counterblast two non-beast tamers, Silverthorn, excuse me. But at the same time, really interesting stuff. Let's try to find it again later. But yeah, in this case, it's easier. At the same time, you do have to make sure you have Beast Tamers in the Soul. The Silverthorn only works with Silverthorn, so maybe you want to splice that in. Cracking Whip, Beast Tamer, however, does have Legion cards that benefit from Legion. So it really just depends on your personal playstyle and how you are able to balance it out. Purple Trapezis, other cards like Mirror Demon, maybe an Alice or two, if you feel like risking the grade 3. Let's see here. Looking at the compendium. Also, cards like Misdirection and Blase Bunny can really fill out holes in your deck. Beast Tamers do get in power for them in the Soul, so there's really no point in skimping on them. Crimson Turquoise, and then even Barking Manticore if you feel like running that guy. He's a plus 3k when it attacks if you have Crimson in the Soul. Also, during your turn. Also, it's draw a card, put a card from your hand into the Soul. Pretty good for when you need to sort of fix things. But I like her. I'm going to use her in the future. That Pale Moon card, Carol, something like that, isn't working as great as I thought it would. But I think that with the stuff we have out there right now, if you're creative with it, and Pale Moon is all about that creativity, and creating solid decks that sort of combo off each other well, you'll be able to figure something out that works just for you. Let's see here. Now, Ancient Dragon, Volcatops, and Tyranno Legend. I already described this on the comments again, so if you want to check out State of Play number 11. Tyranno Legend is kill 3 of your own Ancient Dragons, and when this unit attacks a Vanguard, pay the cost, plus 10k and a crit till end of battle. Counterblast 2 Ancient Dragons, seeing as plus 5k. Never use a second ability unless you are sure of a win, partly because those Counterblasts could be used to save your Iguana Gorges and other cards. Volcatops, as I mentioned in the previous one, is Counterblast 1 and retire an Ancient Dragon rearguard. Choose 2 rearguards with Ancient Dragon and give them plus 5k. You can run stands with it. Kill one of your own rearguards. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, you may pay the cost if you do. This unit gets plus 5k. So, these are both solid cards. This guy is overcosted for not enough power. The problem here is that it's -3. Dark Rex -3, and you got an extra Vanguard attack. He -3, and you just get plus 10k and a crit at a point in time when you're probably either being no passed, or at great cost, or you're being perfect shielded. So would I run this deck without the Break Ride? Neither of them, no. There's too much potential minusing without plussing. With Spino Driver, you counterblast 1, you get plus 10k and a crit, you kill 2, and you draw 2. That's a break even, sort of, but here's the thing, Iguana Gorge and maybe a Skytero Tecton will really prevent that from even turning into anything like a minus. So that's why this deck can even be competitive and why this deck will excel. You can run stands, but I think extra crits just puts on the pressure more. All of a sudden they're dealing with, say, a 19k, 29k, 39k crit 3 column. With 2 triggers, of course, and that's hard to beat. And of course, they just had to deal with a 26 crit 2. 33 crit 2 Vanguard. So as you can see, this of course will hit 21, 28k, 38k with a boost with a Break Ride. So as you can see, the numbers just are elevated by having a Break Ride. It's more efficient use of your resources and allows you to just sort of keep yourself ahead of the minusing game when it comes to Tachikaze. Remember, don't minus yourself unless you can either preserve that or gain more than you're minusing. Like, say, killing a grade 2 and a grade 1, and the grade 1 is an Iguana Gorge that you counterblast 1 and save. That's acceptable, because then you gain 2 cards or you gain a bunch of power and stuff like that. As long as you have 1 grade 1, that you can retire and return to the field or return to the hand, there's no minusing. I just thought I'd share it. It's a very good question, and I hope that there's more that comes up later like this. I'm always glad to explain just about anything to you guys. Good luck with that deck if you do make this. I know that there's a bunch of stuff coming out in either set 16 or set 17. I'm sorry, I'm not really up on what the English all covers. I know Link Joker and stuff like that is going to be in the first one, but I can't remember where Tachikaze is placed. That'll surely have some things that are very useful to us, even beyond the my goodness, even beyond the Unlimiter. So I will be covering Tachikaze when they come out in set 16. Tachikaze is one of my flagship decks. You know, my first proper deck profile for this place was for Tachikaze with a Dark Rex, Death Rex build. So let's talk about what I'm doing right now. I'm going to show you a conversion of my favorite deck, Mega Colony. I've been messing with it. I haven't been as satisfied with it as I want to be. Don't get me wrong, it's not a bad deck. I've never created a bad Mega Colony deck in this situation. But it's, you know, not as satisfying as I thought it would be. Last night, being Friday when our tournament is, I went 2-2. I tripped up at the end because I got grade stuck at 0. I'm sorry, grade stuck at 1. Which was, of course, very unpleasant for myself. But I'll describe the deck here. Otherwise, I would have gotten into the top cut. I can't really see those, so that's okay. So I'll talk to you about them. So here's what the basis of the deck is. Giraffa Ride Chain. Giraffa Ride Chain is a Gen 2 Ride Chain. 12 crit, 4 heal. That should be the norm for Mega Colony based on stunning mechanics, simply because of the pressure and simply because the 10k shields will be more useful to you when they put out a surprise column that you couldn't stun or they put it from their hand. Giraffa Ride Chain. The grade 1 equals a grade 2. That's why I run fewer grade 2s. I'm actually at, if you count these in, these are 14 grade 2s. Well above national average, but of course at the final game I lacked a grade 2. Actually what I did was I misplayed pretty horribly. I didn't guard when I should have, and so of course I failed. But that's okay. I learned a lot from this deck. This is actually a really good deck otherwise. Maybe I need to do it like this, but here's what it goes around. 4 Giraffas. By the way, secondary ability, choose a grade 3 Mega Colony and discard it. When this thing is placed on rearguard circle, I can search out a Giraffa. 1 Jirafa Tech to search out to thin my deck if I've got 2 of these in hand. By the way, Jirafa actually still works. Sure, you're killing 2 of your own units, but at the same time you're killing 2 of their grade 1s, and that's useful. That's a useful trade. Actually won me a game because the guy couldn't pull up the... couldn't replace him, and so I didn't have to guard my Vanguard for a little bit for his rear guards. And so it was just a perfect shield each turn for his... perfect shield each turn for his Vanguard. Eventually I changed up to here and started break riding and just ruined him. 4 perfect shields. Quintet wall for Mega Colony still isn't worth it because of the counterblast requirements for a lot of these guys. However, if you decide that you want to use it, go for it. Warsicle is the deck I'll be turning this into in a little bit. You know, you can do it from there. I'm also do it from there. So we've got also 4 Gloom Flyman. He is, when this unit is placed in the Guardian Circle, choose a grade 0 and tap it. Grade 0 rear guards of your opponent. Tap it. So in other words, it prevents a booster. Early game, this really helps you. There's a lot of potential guarding capabilities, especially if you're able to get the ride chain off, or you're able to get this guy. I probably should have run a bit more of them, but that's okay. Simply because all of a sudden they're hitting, like say a Scrad boosted by Spring Breeze. He attacks with a rear guard first because that's smart. You play Gloom Flyman, block a damage. All of a sudden he's attacking with a Scrad for 9k. If you're worried about it, put another 5k there to make it a no pass. See that? That's the benefit of this guy. I run 4 because he's also a 7k booster, and I have trouble hitting numbers, and I can't rely on too many 6ks. 2 10k boosters. The 10k booster in Mega Colony can be used turn 1 as so long as all your opponent's rear guards are tapped, and they will be 9 times out of 10. And then we've got a Machining Locust. This should have been a grade 2 in hindsight. Choose a card from your hand and discard it when this unit is placed on rear guard circle if you have a Mega Colony Vanguard and all the opponent's Vanguard's rear guards are tapped. Discard a card, draw a card. Easy flipper. Switcher upper. I ran it because I thought I could use it to like discard a grade 3 I didn't need, like one of these guys. After I say like switch it out, I've got one of these already. Strategy. Sorry, but it's not. It didn't work out as I wanted it to. So we've got 4 Tail Joes. Tail Joe is an 11k attacker when everything's tapped on the opponent's side. A Bloody Hercules, which is just a 10k defense. Toxic Trooper. Toxic Trooper is really useful in most decks when this unit attacks and all of your opponent's units cannot intercept until the end of the battle. So in other words, they cut out at least 10k of you, at least 5k guard. 10k guard, maybe as much as 20k guard, depending on what sort of interceptors they have. Useful. I actually would like to have it so he's like this, but so there's 4 of them. But I lost my 4th one, and I'm still trying to look for it. That's okay. They're cheap. They're from Cavalry of Black Steel. Finally, the grade 2 of the chain is Jirafa plus 1k if you've got the grade 1 in Soul. Common for ride chains, and then when this unit attack hits a Vanguard, choose an opponent's rear guard, and that can't stand until the next turn. Really great, again, keeping off that early pressure so you can defend more easily, so that you can take damage. Like, let's say they break ride Dragonic Overlord, and you're at 2 damage. You can take at least 2 of those hits. 1 to your rear guard, 1 to your Vanguard, and then you just perfect shield the last one. All of a sudden, he's wasted his best cards, and you've only wasted 2 cards from your hand plus the rear guard, which, while you can't, recover it as well as you'd like, you can still do, it's still recoverable damage, because as soon as you start break riding these guys, and you have multiple of these guys in hand, you can replace them with these. I used to run 2 Master Frauds, which is Soul Blast 3, draw a card on hit with anything, but they're not really as useful here because of the break ride meta that's Mega Colonies found itself in. Jirafa, it's a plus 1k when you have a grade 2 in the Soul, this guy. He's an 11k back in the day when everything was 10k, and that's pretty powerful. They only just started getting the idea of 12k attackers. So he had a place and he was defensive. And Mega Colony's success in America has largely been to the fact that there's been a lot of 11k Mega Colonies running around earlier than a lot of their peers. Remember, Alfred is 11k until he became a Liberator. Gancelot Dragonic Overlord is, of course, the exception, but most of the aces, for the longest time, were just 10Ks. Yeah, 10K, 1 pass, Alfred. Yeah, no, don't do that. Don't do that. They run 12 crit now. Then there's a Vector Zeus, Counterblast 2, I've talked about before, plus 10k until end of turn. Choose an opponent's rearguard, and that unit can't stand until end of the phase. The real thing is to count tank plus 10k. Mega Colony has problems with power. All of a sudden with this booster, he becomes 31k. That hits beautiful numbers, and you're running 12 crit, remember. When this unit is placed on rearguard circle, kill all the grade 1s or less on the field. Everyone. In other words, if you're partnering up with somebody, he better know that you have this in the deck, because otherwise he will be minused, and it will be bad for you and him both. Fortunately, this deck lends itself to a very strong grade 2 rush, even though it looks like there aren't too many of these. This guy summons up grade 2. You will usually draw one, except for that one game that cost me the entire tournament. You know, it was doing what it was supposed to do. You have these guys early on, they attack things, or they attack the Vanguard directly, and they have to spend cards from hand. Remember, it's not so much that these guys can't intercept, is that if to block, they have to spend cards from hand. So let's say 2 triggers, 26k crit 2, you can only put down 2 10k shields. They're going to be like, this is harder than I thought, and they put down a lot more cards than they should, because there's a whole bunch of grade 1s and the like. That's the real benefit of this. And because early game it can attack unboosted, you can ride this first and then go to this, and it's just as good. Same with this guy too, because you kill 2 things and then it's like, oh, look at that. Finally, the break ride. I'm sure I've talked this to death. When a Mega Colony rides, choose your Vanguard until end of turn. This unit gets plus 10k. Tap all your opponent's units, and your opponent's units can't stand until the next stand phase. Whew. During your turn, if your opponent's Vanguard and rearguards are tapped, this unit gets plus 2k. So it's a 13k attacker when everything's tapped, which it should. Even Nova Grapplers don't really have much in the way of stand rearguards after the fact. So, you know, it's not really a bad restriction. So, by the way, there's no real restrictions in Mega Colony when it says if everything's tapped. Partly because even cards like Machining Spark Hercules, who required it for their plus 10k crit ability, have the ability to Soul Blast the machine to do it. This is the standard for every Mega Colony deck now, as I've mentioned before, for these guys. SP. So yeah, basis of this, what I'm going to be modifying this deck into is back to a machining standpoint, but with, guess who? Warsicle. For those who didn't watch my previous show or just wasn't aware, Counterblast 2 at the end of battle, this unit attack to Vanguard. If you did not hit, damned if you do, damned if you don't, because you play 12 crit. You may pay the cost if you do. Choose your opponent's Vanguard, and that unit can't stand. Hits Legions, hits Stride, everything. Nothing stands in its way, and it's better than the. It's better with the break ride, because now you can pace it out. Let's say you break ride twice, and then you play with this guy. That is 4 times you can have the choice to make the Vanguard not stand. Sometimes what I do is I actually leave my opponent at 3 damage, break ride, attack a rearguard with a Vanguard, and it's like, okay, so I see that you've got Dragonic Overlord all nice and there for a break ride. Let's see if you can use it. And of course they ride over it early in the game, because even though they're wasting a break ride, they do not want to be without that twin drive check, which in the long term, even in a Dragonic Overlord deck, is necessary for victory. I played, I think his name is Ducky on the channel, against Raging Form. And it was a pretty close games every time, because I was playing a Vector Zeus and I was killing his Dorrance and stuff like that with this guy. But at the same time, a card like this would have been nicer, because there were times when I really needed to keep his Raging Form tapped, so he constantly spends Raging Forms from hand for my eventual victory. He won that one, of course. Raging Form versus Mega Colony, you have to play perfect as Mega Colony. Otherwise, you just don't win. Unless, of course, your Raging Form player is incompetent. May we always fight incompetent Vanguard players. sometimes. But yeah, that's not the case here. So, obviously, I'm bringing this deck back to machining from this non-machining build, which I think will serve anyone who doesn't really want to go with machining. If you don't like Jirafa, Mega Colony Battler C, and then combo it up with cards like Phantom Black, or, let's see, where is he? Mega Colony Battler B, which is Counterblast 1. If it's seen it boosts the Mega Colony and it hits the Vanguard, Counterblast 1, something doesn't stand next turn. The opponent's rear guard can't stand. Again, but it's 15k. This is, let's see here. Choice for just power is Phantom Black. Also, if you don't mind a little bit more counterblasting, Karma Queen. Or, let's see here, Toxic Soldier, who is basically Toxic Trooper, but grade 1. So you can put him in the front row if you need to. Alright then, so let's talk about our options. I've already talked about Mega Colony in depth in a previous vid, so this will be decently quick. What I'm just going to do is I'm going to slide, because these are oversleeved, I'm just going to slide in a card like this to show what's going on here, and I'll change it later. Don't think you guys want to see me unsleeving all the time. Okay, so 4 Tail Joes I'm keeping, 4 of the Break Rides, 4 of the Perfect Shields. I'm changing these cards. I know I'm putting one guy here, one of the grade 1s here. And because I can run 10k grade 1s, I'm fine with what it is right now. I want to run more machining, partly because of this guy's second ability. Counterblast the machining. When this unit is placed on Vanguard Circle, summon out 1. My starter shall actually be machining Little B. Little B is an excellent choice for all machining decks based around Warsicle. And even Stag Beetle, simply because this card can put in the Soul Forerunner, of course, choose another rearguard with machining and stand in plus 3k. So it turns 10k into a 13k or a 12k into a 15k. That hits numbers. So there's that. Not changing the trigger lineup either. So, grade 1s. These guys are fine. Gotta put these over to the sides. Let's see what grade 1 options we have for machining. Besides Locust, we have Caucasus, which I'm going to replace the Girafas with, 10k attackers, and then for the rest of them, 2 of these guys, 10k boosters for 1 turn, or 10k attackers for 1 turn. Remember that machining was one of the original archetypes that was based on the archetype rather than simply part of the clan. Cocoa, Chocolate, etc. are battle sisters, certainly, but at the same time they don't do anything that requires other battle sisters. Mocha. But these guys do rely on other machinings. Risers came out in the same set, but at the same time they didn't have the same level as Mega Colony did. So, real quick, I'm going to put these up here. So, we have got a lot to look forward to. They've been releasing some stride effects, and a lot of people were thinking that they were actually bringing down the power for a bit, but rather I believe they're relegating the major powers to stride themselves. And then once you are at a point in late game where you can't stride anymore, which is odd because Triplet Drive overcomes the fact that you're discarding grade 3s, so I don't know, figure that out. But by the way, I'm running more of these because this is a 16k column. But only 2 of these because these are 10k boosters and I need to play those surgically. Okay. So, right, we've got things like Ragnarok Dragon and others. There's a lot of effects that give plus 10k in a crit or plus 5k in a crit. Which, by the way, means that it's a 32k column, which is Break Ride level stuff. Really horrifying. And in a lot of ways, but at the same time, it's like, and then it's like a God of Glory effect. Can't use grade 1s, can't use grade 0s, or something stupid like that. And it gets a crit if you don't do something horrible to your opponent. And it's like, I don't really know why they're putting so much power in the strides or so many abilities. Some are pretty simple. If it hits, summon a grade 2 or less, which is nice for free, but there's also one that's Counterblast 4. If you look at the top 4 cards, if it's a 0, 1, 2, 3 all together, everything is a different grade, then you can have another turn, no questions asked. Which is, shuffle your deck, which is just, wow, I just don't see anybody ever pulling it off. You know, good luck to them. You have to play Stride in this new meta. So, even though, you know, you may not want to because, gee units, man. So there's 12k attackers here. I'm looking forward to what they bring out for Mega Colony or Zoo in general. They're going to run off the Maiden archetype probably, but it'll just be a joy to see what they pull off. What am I going to do here? I'm actually not going to run too many machining grade 2s. Partly because... Just a moment. So, sorry about that. My mother loves me. And she's like, Ben, where are you? We haven't seen you in years. I'm like, I'm not coming home, Mom. I was talking about machining. Okay, so... I want power. At the same time, I don't need it too much. No, I was talking about strides. Okay. So with strides, they're sort of saying that, oh yeah, you know, our main vanguards aren't as powerful anymore. There's a lot of plus 5Ks and abilities, but there's not a lot of plus 10Ks. So maybe we're bringing it down to sort of less, sort of pre-break ride levels, which was still pretty tough, pretty powerful, but at the same time nowhere near as... dedicated to break rides. What I'm actually going to do is I want to try using him for a bit. So I'm going to see if there's something 9k that we can replace Tail Joe with. That's also a machining, and guess what? There really isn't. So the problem with this guy, Tarantula, is that your counterblasts are better used for him. He doesn't require machining counterblasts for his limit break. He does require machining counterblast for this, for his second ability. So really there isn't much for it. There's this card, which I suppose is good, but at the same time doesn't give us power. So really that sort of leaves us with Mantis again, of which I'm going to replace 2 of the Tail Joes with. Partly because Tail Joe is a target of high priority, and it will be killed quite quickly, but also because I do need to have a certain amount of machining cards that are available to me. At the same time, I want to make use of him, because I really did enjoy what he was able to do for me in the local tournament, and I want to see how he applies this to a machining deck. If he doesn't do well, I'll replace him with 2 more of these, and 1 Tail Joe. So this is how it would look like. At the same time... you know, we have to sort of see how it is. Power isn't really as important as it was anymore. Columns always win the game for you. At the same time, if you're fighting if this deck is fighting a cross-ridden deck, and I've already expended this guy, and I've only got these behind a few other guys, and the Caucasus isn't even behind anything, then there's no point in me worrying about columns, because it's all just a 5k shield. What I need to be worried about is forcing as many cards from his hand as possible. It is more important to force cards from hand than it is to hit numbers. That's why Tom was good. Tom, 16k, column 2 grade 1, 2s, or 3s. If your 3 could, you know, do it. Or an intercept, a special intercept for a 10k drop. Let's say you put a trigger on Tom. It's now 3 cards, 4 cards. With 2 triggers. That's why it was good. So this is what I'm trying to do. With this deck, I'm trying to force him to do the heavy lifting of killing the Vanguard later in the game. While this guy exists for early game to soften him up, This guy, there should be some machining in the sole, and I really need to make sure there is some. So, last bit to do, excuse me, is of course replacing the grade 3s. Warsicle is a fantastic card. Really do look forward to using him in the future, and I think a lot of people will too. In this basis, you know, there's a lot of pressure. I did a lot of damage as soon as I started brake riding, and hopefully this will push it forward for more brake rides, more, you know, you're not going to hit me, neener, so on and so forth. Alright then, I'm going to give this video a quick pause, then I'm going to go to the wiki, which will have some, wherein I will cover, wherein I'm going to cover the triple and double rares for the Genesis Extra Booster. Excuse me. This has been Wheeler with continuation of my state of play. What we're doing right now is we're going to look at the Extra Booster for Genesis. Next week, of course, I'll do the Shadow Paladin one. And I'll start with the triple rares and work our way down and take care of the Legion rares, as well as any other card I feel you can make a deck around. So starting it off, we've got Cosmic Regalia CEO Yggdrasil. This is probably the chief card in this set, hands down. It's also the chief character of Genesis, as she's the CEO of Genesis. Yeah, it's in the name. Wow. So it's got Legion 2000. Again, Legion is if your opponent's Vanguard is grade 3 or greater. This unit may return 4 cards from your drop zone into your deck once. Search your deck for a specified card, in this case Regalia of Fate Norn and Legion. Now its abilities is Soul Blast 6. When this unit attacks the Vanguard, if this unit is in Legion, you may pay the cost. If you do, until end of battle, this unit gets a critical, and your opponent cannot call grade 1 or grade 1s or greater units from the hand to the Guardian Circle. When this unit attacks a Vanguard, if you have another unit in your middle column, this unit gets plus 3k until end of battle. So with a booster, this could hit 31k crit 2 unboosted. I'm sorry, with a booster, 8k of course. I'm sure there's other ones that do more. This combos well with its Legion mate. Let's see here, Regalia of Fate Norn. These are of course all Norse mythology references, Yggdrasil being the tree, and Norn being a witch woman in control of fate. Regalia of Fate, of course. When this unit is put into the drop zone from Soul, choose one of your Vanguards with Regalia in the card name, and this unit gets plus 5k until end of turn. Regalia, after it moves from the Minerva restandings and power stuff from Ordainal, it starts to move into basically you Soul Blast things for ability, turning the deck into something very efficient, as well as with good decent combos to be made with cards like Regalia of Midday Hemera, who is basically you can stick Regalia into your soul. Of course, there are different ways to play. CEO is all about that big play in the middle of the game, but if you soul charge right, you can do it multiple times, which for anyone who's very familiar with Glory is quite deadly. Alright then, moving on from Norn and... just a moment. I'll find it later. From Norn and Yggdrasil. Now we're moving on to White Snake Witch Mint. Witches are a bit of a disappointment in Vanguard because we were kind of hoping to combo them up together, but they never really made it. Legion is not really locked by Legion is not really locked by what clan you are, but rather they are just sort of with the archetypes, I find, more than anything. So this is Legion 2000 with Black Snake Witch Chicory. Soul Blast 6 when this unit attacks the Vanguard. Love Soul Blasting 6 in this deck. 666. Oh dear. When this unit attacks the Vanguard, if it's in Legion, pay the cost. If you do, until end of turn it gets a 10k. So it goes up to 31k. And all your front row rear guards with Witch in the name get plus 5k, which isn't bad at all. And then we've got Counterblast 1 when another unit with Witch in the center column, Soul Charge 3. This ability cannot be used again. And there are, of course, things that gain power or can benefit from being Soul Charged or Soul Charging. Problems is that Witch isn't really Witch is an archetype, and it's a solid archetype, but at the same time it doesn't really have the presence that Regalia does. And I feel that Genesis is hurt a little bit by the fact that it switched up between it. The art is, of course, fantastic. It's Legion Mate is Black Snake Witch Chicory. When this unit attacks, if you have a Vanguard with Witch in the card name, this unit gets plus 3k until end of battle. Again, pretty fine art, fantastic art, really. Sort of got a Shadow Paladin feel to her as well as the Genesis one. But at the same time, still, not really enough to push it forward. I'll talk about the Shadow Paladin, which is later. So here we have a more traditional card, sort of. Regalia of Wisdom and Courage Brunhild. I just like saying Brunhilde, the full Valkyrie name. Her ability, I'm going to warn you right now, is overcosted, but fantastic. Limit Break 5, Ultimate Break as we call it, so at 5 damage you can use this ability. Counterblast 4 and Soul Blast 6. So in other words, it's about 1 and 2 cheaper than a Mega Blast. Kill 3 of your opponent's rearguards and draw a card for each one. You, of course, choose. And it's a cross-ride with Regalia of Wisdom Angelica. How to play this card? It's super difficult. You have to break ride, and then you use her ability. Because you have to sort of time it out, and then know the right time to strike and when time to power up. You play Ordainal and a couple other cards that come up here, and you can keep up a consistent level of power, but at the same time it's really difficult to manage the fact that you're not really working with Counterblast in these decks. I don't believe Regalia or even Genesis has an Unflipper, which I would find incredibly useful in this build, as doing this multiple times will make you more or less unstoppable. The plus side of this is that you don't have to soul charge as often as others do. But at the same time, overcosted for what it does. Chaos Breaker can do it cheaper with a break ride and just its ability once. But at the same time, this is on command, and it's both a minus to your opponent and a plus to you, which simply cannot be beat normally. She's not a Legion, which I think is favorable to her. But then we've also got Witch of Sea Eagles Fennel. She is Legion 2000, which Witch of Golden Eagles Jasmine. Soul Blast 3. During the turn that this unit is in Legion, at the end of the battle this unit attacked a Vanguard, look at the top 5 cards of your deck. Search for 2 cards with Witch in the name. Let's see, Witch in the card name, reveal them to your opponent, put into your hand, shuffle deck. And that's pretty solid. Oh, and Counterblast 3. When this unit is placed on the Vanguard circle, pay the cost if you do Soul Charge 3. It's nice. At the same time, it's underwhelming. This had shown up earlier in the game. It would have been a lot more impressive. But a +2 from the top 5 is nice. You can get whatever you need. Field, defense, anything really. At the same time, still, I'm not feeling it. Witch of Golden Eagles Jasmine, weird sort of Texas feel to her. Is Counterblast 1 when this is placed in the rearguard circle. If you have a Vanguard with Witch in the card name, pay the cost if you do Soul Charge 3, and this unit gets +3k until end of turn. Counterblast 1 and Soul Charge 3 for a +3k. On placement is not really something I can approve all the time. Sure, it's a nice 12k. You can have 2 12k attackers. At the same time, there isn't. Not really feeling it. Then we have Regalia of Midnight Nyx. This is actually a pretty good card. I think it would make a decent budget deck, or a combination with Yggdrasil, thanks to Regalia of Midday Hermera, her Legion mate, Legion 2000. When this card with the same name as your Vanguard is put into the drop zone from Soul, this unit gets Legion. This unit is in Legion, excuse me. This unit gets +5k and a crit till end of turn. This ability can be used for end of the game. So, in other words, I'll tell you the combo, how the combo we're up in a bit. But basically, Oh yeah, and Soul Blast 3, if the number of cards in your hand is 3 or less, draw a card. This ability cannot be used again for the rest of the turn. So, by the way, with the attack, you will have 5 cards in your hand. That's enough to get through any turn, even with multiple triggers, provided, of course, you get good defensive cards. Good card. Don't think she can solo a deck, but at the same time, I'm sure somebody can make it work. The 26k crit 2 plus whatever booster is a nice power for relatively low cost. Regalia of Midday Chimera is what makes her be able to work. She is, when this unit is placed in the rearguard circle, put 3 cards in your drop zone from Regalia in the card name and put them into the soul. You know, really helps keep soul regulated, as well as the fact that Regalia of Midnight can use the ability, as well as other cards that require Soul Blasts. Then we have Witch of Strawberries Flamboyant. Perfect shield. It's nice art. Not really feeling her though, as opposed to Regalia Frozen Breath Valen, which is a quintet wall. Nice to have Regalias. Maybe I'll use 1 or 2 in a Brunhilde deck because of the lighter soul charging and draw compared to other decks, but at the same time, you know, not bad. Lastly, we have a rare of all things, Mythgard Procyon. Limit Break 4, Soul Blast 6 when this unit attacks a Vanguard. You may pay the cost. If you do, stand all of your rearguards with Mythgard in the name. Then we have Counterblast 3. Search your deck for up to 6 different cards with Mythgard in the name. Put them into the Soul Shuffle deck. You can basically say, okay, Counterblast 3, I'm going to put in 2 of the 4 of the ones that 2 each that do plus 3k whenever they're Soul Blasted by a certain card, and all of a sudden I'll stand them again. Let's see, that's plus 12 to each column, 16, 28, 2 28k columns attacking twice, late game. That's gonna hurt, as well as the fact that this thins out the deck of 6 non-triggers. And it pays for itself. So, yeah, that's an awesome card. I'm going to be working with it and making it work, because I'm pretty sure I can. It's a rare, though. I just wanted to point it out. There's also its combination with a Demon World Castle Donnerschlager. But as it stands now, besides some Regalia triggers and basically some stuff that came out set 14, there's not much to talk about right now. Let's see here. Yeah, a bunch of reprints for the 12k and 10k attacker for Regalia. There's one Regalia Pray Angel. If your Vanguard's in Legion, Soul Charge 3, put this into the Soul, so it's a Soul Charge 4 really. Choose your Vanguard and give it plus 5k. Not bad. Wish it wasn't just Legion, but that's okay. Then we have Regalia of Abundance Freya, plus 5k if when they Legion. If you Soul Charge 3 and Counterblast 1. Yeah, so that covers just about everything. There's a common called Regalia of Love Cypress and Venus, and they're both the sort of the generic cards, Cypress being 27,000 Legion and Venus being just a 10k base. But it's a Regalia, and that's nice, and I might run them in Brunhilde. I want to make Brunhilde work. Last 2 things I don't recognize. I'm going to take a look at them real quick. Is Exorcism Regalia Shiny Angel, and choose 3 when this unit is placed in rearguard circle. Choose. Okay, so it's a Chimera grade 1, and then put them in the Soul. And then we have Regalia Purify Pure Angel. Counterblast 1 was put on rearguard circle. If you do choose your Regalia Vanguard, it gets plus 5k, and then Soul Blast 3 when this unit attacks the Vanguard. You may pay the cost if you do draw a card. Can potentially combo with Brunhilde, if this is like the only counterblasting you do. But like I said before, Brunhilde is difficult, and I'm going to make her work. So yeah, just look forward to that. Alright then, my name is Benjamin Wheeler, the Mercenary King. Remember, if you have any questions, comments, concerns for me, I will answer them to the best of my abilities. I want to thank you for watching this, and have a good night.